Children of divine law, hear this word. Silence is not weakness, it is a weapon of power. Silence is not emptiness, it is alignment with the infinite. There are moments when the voice must thunder like prophecy, but there are also sacred moments when the voice must withdraw, and in that withdrawal, the soul commands unseen forces. Always be silent when the spirit demands stillness. Always be silent when speaking would scatter your power. Always be silent when heaven is arranging your victory. For the law is this: what you declare with lips must be saturated with the vibration of heaven. But careless words, spoken in haste, spoken in fear, spoken in gossip, bind you to lack, delay, and defeat. Therefore I say, guard the gate of your mouth. Do not let the tongue betray your destiny. Do not let the tongue become a thief of your fortune. Do not let the tongue move without the permission of spirit. Say aloud, my words are law, my words are power, my words create worlds, and when I am silent, I am still creating, for heaven speaks through my stillness. Children of divine order, silence is not absence, it is presence magnified. When you withhold words, the universe rearranges matter on your behalf. When you refuse to speak from fear, the chains of fear are broken. When you restrain your tongue, the unseen hand of God fights your battles. Remember this eternal decree: the tongue is a tool, the word is a sword. But silence is the shield of the righteous. You are not commanded to chatter, you are commanded to create. You are not commanded to argue, you are commanded to decree. You are not commanded to answer every voice of doubt, you are commanded to align with the higher voice. Declare this now: I will speak only when spirit fills my mouth with power. I will be silent when silence is stronger than sound. I guard my words, for they shape my destiny. And so it is. Be silent in the face of gossip, for gossip is the language of the powerless, the poison of the envious, the distraction of the faithless. Gossip is the sound of vibration falling, the sound of energy leaking, the sound of destiny delayed. It seeks to pull you down into its pit, to make you breathe the air of smallness, to trap you in cycles of judgment and comparison. But you, child of divine order, are not summoned to the pit. You are summoned to the throne. Therefore you must not answer gossip, you must not join it, you must not let your sacred breath become fuel for it. When gossip calls your name, silence must answer. When gossip demands your opinion, silence must protect your crown. For every careless word binds you to the energy of those who speak them, and if their words are rooted in malice, your agreement, even by reply, ties you to their chain. Say aloud now, I refuse to waste divine breath on gossip. My words are sacred, my silence is power. I rise above the noise. Understand this eternal truth. Gossip is the weapon of the small-minded. It is the counterfeit of prophecy. It imitates power but carries none. It imitates authority but births only decay. Those who gossip plant weeds in their own harvest, but those who remain silent plant orchards of abundance. For silence is alignment with heaven's higher law. When you do not answer, you declare that you are above the vibration of slander. When you do not respond, you prove that your energy is reserved for creation, not destruction. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not retreat. Silence is strategy. Silence is dominion. Silence is the sound of victory unbothered. Declare this now: I do not lower my vibration to meet the voice of gossip. I walk in higher law. I guard my tongue and I guard my destiny. What others say cannot shape my harvest. My silence is my shield, and my destiny is untouched. Children of spirit, gossip is bait, and many take it. Gossip is the voice of distraction, pulling kings off their thrones to argue with peasants in the dust. But the wise remain silent, and in their silence, heaven thunders. You are not called to explain yourself to the blind. You are not called to defend your light to those who love shadows. You are not called to speak into ears that twist every word. You are called to rise, to decree, to create. Your words are not for them. Your words are for heaven, for law, for manifestation. Say aloud, my tongue is the pen of the Spirit. I do not waste it on vain speech. My words are currency, and I spend them only on abundance, love, and divine increase. Understand this law: energy is contagious, and gossip is infection. When you join it, Even to defend yourself, you breathe in the disease of scarcity, but when you stay silent, you build an atmosphere that gossip cannot touch. Silence confuses the accuser. Silence silences the liar. Silence dismantles the scheme without a fight. For heaven declares, I will contend with those who contend with you. Your silence is the signal that God himself is your defender. Therefore, when gossip swirls around you, do not bend to speak. Do not stoop to explain. Do not waste power on those who do not deserve your breath. Stand tall. Stay silent. Let heaven's law vindicate you. For your silence speaks louder than their slander. Your silence is thunder in the spirit. Your silence is decree without words, and the universe will echo your restraint with rewards. For silence in the face of gossip is proof that you trust the law of divine justice. Say aloud once more, I am silent in the face of gossip. I do not descend, I ascend. I do not answer, I rise. My silence is my crown, my shield, my power, and my proof that no word spoken against me shall prosper. Be silent when fear demands speech, for fear is a beggar that survives only when you feed it words. Fear is the shadow that pretends to be substance, the echo that pretends to be a voice, the trembling illusion that waits for your agreement to come alive. It whispers, speak of me, confess me, repeat me, for it knows that once your tongue becomes its servant, the law of manifestation begins to clothe it in form. But you are not called to give fear a body. You are called to give faith a throne. Every word you speak in fear is a seed that grows chains. Every silence you maintain in faith is a sword that cuts them. When fear comes and demands that you confess lack, sickness, failure, and defeat, you must answer with silence. When fear shakes you, do not speak its name, do not describe its face, do not confess its prophecy. Hold your tongue, guard your mouth, stand in the stillness of divine law, and let your silence thunder louder than fear's voice. Say aloud, I will not speak for fear. I will not prophesy defeat with my tongue. My silence is faith. My silence is victory. My silence is the refusal to give life to lies. Children of spirit, hear the decree. The tongue is the servant of law. It will give life to whatever it utters. It is no respecter of persons. It is respecter of vibration. If you give it words of fear, it must create fear. If you give it words of lack, it must create lack. But if you hold it in silence when fear presses you, you deny fear the womb of manifestation. For silence is not empty, it is full of faith. Silence is the pause where heaven speaks. Silence is the shield that blocks fear's entry. Silence is the evidence that you trust the unseen more than the seen. Declare this now, I will not confess fear. I will not give voice to doubt. I will not build altars to anxiety with my tongue. I will remain silent until faith is formed, and then I will decree only what aligns with heaven. Fear knows it cannot act without you. Fear knows it cannot build without your word. Fear knows it cannot reign without your agreement. This is why it presses you to speak quickly, to blurt out, I cannot, I don't have, it won't work. But when you resist, when you refuse, when you choose silence instead of surrender, you strip fear of its wings, you disarm its illusion, you deny it the stage. For the righteous one does not tremble before shadows. The righteous one does not bow to whispers. The righteous one does not fuel lies with holy breath. The righteous one remains still, remains calm, remains unbending until the spirit fills the mouth with decree. Say aloud, I will not lend my voice to fear. I am the voice of victory, not defeat. I am the voice of abundance, not lack. I am the voice of faith, not trembling. And when I am silent, I am still creating, for heaven speaks through my restraint. Understand this law. Fear cannot endure silence. Fear thrives on confession, but silence starves it. Fear seeks the soil of words, but silence leaves it rootless. Fear desires attention, but silence denies it breath. The one who remains silent in the face of fear commands all of heaven to fight on their behalf. For silence before fear is not weakness, it is alignment. It is the announcement that you choose the higher voice. It is the sign that your destiny is greater than the illusion of danger. So when fear demands that you speak of loss, remain silent until you are ready to speak of gain. When fear demands that you speak of sickness, remain silent until you are ready to speak of healing. When fear demands that you speak of lack, remain silent until you are ready to decree abundance. Do not echo fear's words. Do not magnify fear's prophecy. Do not prophesy against yourself with your own mouth. Stay silent until the Spirit fills you with a word that creates, not destroys. Say aloud once more, I do not bow to fear. I do not confess fear. I do not declare fear. My silence is my weapon. My silence is my fortress. My silence is my faith in action. Fear has no life in me, for I deny it the power of my tongue. Be silent before mockers and doubters, for their words are traps set to ensnare your spirit. Their laughter is bait designed to pull you into the arena of argument. Their disbelief is poison seeking the vessel of your agreement. Mockers do not mock you, they mock the light within you. Doubters do not doubt you, they doubt the law of spirit that governs your rise. To answer them is to descend to their vibration. To defend yourself before them is to hand them your crown. To argue with the blind is to waste sight. To explain to the deaf is to waste sound. Therefore, remain silent, for silence is not defeat, it is enthronement. Silence is not surrender, it is the strategy of the wise. Silence announces that you do not require the permission of men when you already carry the decree of heaven. Say aloud, I do not answer mockers, I do not bow to doubters. My silence is my shield, my silence is my throne, my silence is proof that the law of God defends me. Children of divine law, understand this eternal truth. Doubt is contagious when entertained, but powerless when ignored. Mockery is sharp when received, but blunt when denied response. They feed upon your reaction. They seek your anger, your defense, your explanation, for in it they find validation. But when you remain silent, their arrows fall to the ground. When you remain silent, their laughter echoes into emptiness. When you remain silent, you strip them of the stage they crave, for heaven fights for those who refuse to fight on the level of mockery. Heaven defends those who refuse to descend into argument. Heaven justifies those who choose silence over strife. Declare this now, I will not argue with the blind. I will not explain to the faithless. I will not lower my voice to answer those who have no ear for truth. I will rise, I will walk, I will manifest, and my silence shall speak louder than their words. The mocker laughs today, but tomorrow your manifestation will silence their laughter. The doubter sneers today, but tomorrow your abundance will make their words wither. The mocker thrives only on delay, but your silence speeds the law into action, for when you do not waste time defending, you accelerate the work of creating. When you do not exhaust breath on explanation, you conserve it for decree, and decree is what moves mountains, not argument. Decree is what manifests gold, not debate. Decree is what aligns heaven and earth, not defense before doubters. Say aloud, my manifestation will answer for me. My abundance will silence my critics. My rise will speak where I remain silent. I choose silence before men, and I choose power before God. Children of spirit, do not let the voice of the scoffer touch the seed of your faith. Do not let the laughter of the small-minded shake the foundation of your destiny. They mocked Noah until the rain fell. They mocked Joseph until the palace crowned him. They mocked Christ until the tomb could not hold him. Mockery is the echo of unbelief, but manifestation is the thunder of divine proof. Hold your silence until heaven reveals what they cannot deny. Hold your silence until your fruit stands as witness. Hold your silence until your rising becomes the answer they can never argue. Say aloud once more, I am silent before mockers. I am silent before doubters. I do not waste my voice in defense, for heaven is my defender. My silence is my power. My silence is my decree. My silence is the stage upon which God himself proves me. Be silent in the midst of divine instruction, for the voice of spirit is not found in noise, nor in argument, nor in the clamor of restless minds, but in the stillness where heaven breathes its secrets. When God speaks, all other voices must bow. When the infinite whispers, your tongue must not interrupt. For how can you hear the decree of destiny if your mouth is filled with your own reasoning? How can you receive the map of abundance if your lips will not cease their questioning? Be silent, for silence is surrender to the higher mind. Be silent, for silence is agreement with the eternal will. Be silent, for silence is the atmosphere where revelation descends. Say aloud, I silence my flesh, I silence my fear, I silence my reasoning, that I may hear the pure instruction of Spirit. Children of Spirit, the law is this: the one who will not be silent cannot be guided. For the tongue that never rests becomes a wall against wisdom, and the mind that always speaks cannot receive. Many pray, but few listen. Many ask, but few wait. Many demand answers, but few prepare their silence for instruction. Heaven's voice is precise. Heaven's voice is commanding. Heaven's voice is eternal, but it demands stillness. You cannot carry divine instruction into manifestation if you drown it in your own words. Therefore, when Spirit begins to speak, halt your reasoning, still your objections, restrain your tongue, for silence is the proof that you are ready to obey. Declare this now: I yield my tongue to silence. I yield my thoughts to the higher voice. I prepare myself as a vessel of obedience, and in my silence I am instructed. Divine instruction is treasure. It does not fall into the careless hands of the noisy. It is reserved for those who honor it with reverence. Instruction from heaven is the seed of prosperity, the key to healing, the strategy of victory. One word from God carries more power than 1,000 words from men, but to hear it, you must become still. To receive it, you must be silent. To carry it, you must not argue. For silence is faith. Silence is agreement. Silence is the posture of one who trusts that God's word is final and sufficient. Say aloud, I do not debate the voice of God. I do not resist divine command. I do not dilute instruction with my own reasoning. I remain silent and I obey. Understand this eternal truth. The silence in the midst of divine instruction is not passive, it is active power. It is alignment. It is absorption. It is the drawing in of law into your very being. When you are silent, the instruction does not merely touch your ears, it engraves itself upon your spirit. When you are silent, the word of God is not just heard, it is planted. When you are silent, you do not only receive information, you receive transformation. Silence before divine instruction is the sign of kingship, the mark of chosen ones, the posture of those destined to rule with wisdom. Children of light, when you walk in silence before divine instruction, you prove that you are ready for manifestation. Heaven does not instruct those who will argue, heaven instructs those who will obey. And obedience begins with silence. Do not rush to speak. Do not rush to defend your plan. Do not rush to justify your way. For your way is dust, but His way is eternal. Your words may comfort for a moment, but His word establishes forever. Silence until Spirit speaks. Silence until Spirit completes. Silence until the law is fully written upon your heart. Say aloud once more, I am silent in the midst of divine instruction. My silence is faith. My silence is surrender. My silence is obedience. In silence I hear. In silence I receive. In silence I am transformed. Be silent when anger burns, for anger is the fire that seeks to consume your destiny, the storm that seeks to scatter your harvest, the trap that waits for your careless words to become chains around your future. Anger comes not to test your strength, but to steal your crown. It demands that you speak quickly, that you strike with the tongue, that you decree in wrath what you cannot undo in peace. But the law is clear. Every word is seed, and words born in anger birth destruction. Therefore, when anger rises, hold your tongue as one holds a sword in its sheath. For silence in the moment of fury is the proof of mastery. To speak in anger is to decree against yourself. To be silent is to allow heaven to fight for you. Say aloud, I do not give my words to anger. I do not feed fire with my tongue. My silence is strength. My silence is dominion. My silence is my victory. Children of Spirit, understand this. Anger is not power. Anger is loss of power. Anger is not authority. Anger is surrender of authority. Those who rage with their mouths hand over the keys of their kingdom, but those who stay silent in the flame prove that nothing external governs their throne. For silence in anger is the language of kings. Silence in anger is the posture of queens. Silence in anger is alignment with the eternal law that declares, be still and know that I am God. When you restrain your tongue in fury, you shift from human reaction to divine alignment, and in that alignment, The battle is no longer yours but the Lord's. Declare this now. I do not curse my destiny with angry words. I do not plant weeds of wrath into my harvest. I remain silent until Spirit gives me utterance, and when I speak life. Anger waits for you to lose control, for when you lose control, it gains dominion. It waits for you to spill words that will echo into your tomorrow. It waits for you to decree against your loved ones, against your abundance, against your own soul. But silence starves anger. Silence extinguishes its flame. Silence denies it breath. Anger cannot thrive in silence. Anger cannot live in the restraint of a spirit governed by law. For the one who guards his tongue guards his destiny, and the one who remains silent in wrath preserves the palace of peace. Say aloud, I master my mouth, I guard my tongue. I choose silence when anger demands speech, and in my silence I win. Children of divine order, hear this decree. You cannot create abundance with the same tongue that curses in fury. You cannot manifest wealth with the same mouth that releases destruction in wrath. The tongue cannot be a fountain of both poison and blessing. Therefore, when anger burns, do not open your mouth until your words are aligned with heaven. Let silence carry you through the fire. Let silence protect your harvest. Let silence guard your tomorrow. For silence in the moment of rage is not weakness, it is authority. It is the refusal to let the enemy write your decree. Remember, it is easy to speak when flames consume you, but it is divine to restrain. It is easy to curse when provoked, but it is divine to remain silent until wisdom fills your lips. Your silence confounds the accuser, disarms the adversary, and calls upon the justice of heaven. The one who remains silent when anger burns becomes untouchable, for their words are not wasted on wrath but saved for decree. Say aloud once more, I am silent when anger burns. I do not waste my breath on wrath. I do not decree destruction with my tongue. My silence is my fortress. My silence is my crown. My silence is the proof that I am ruled by spirit and not by fire. Be silent when God is fighting for you, for the battle is not yours, it belongs to the eternal. When heaven rises on your behalf, your only command is stillness. Do not interfere with divine strategy. Do not weaken your victory with restless words. Do not interrupt the hand of the Almighty with your human explanations. Be silent, for silence is trust, silence is surrender, silence is proof that you know the invisible works louder than the visible. When God fights for you, every force against you crumbles, every weapon formed against you fails, every enemy that rises against you is scattered. But the victory comes when you resist the urge to defend yourself, when you resist the urge to argue, when you resist the urge to explain, when you let silence declare your faith in the unseen army that surrounds you. Say aloud, I am silent when God is fighting for me. I do not argue, I do not strive, I do not defend. I rest in divine power and watch the victory unfold. Children of spirit, understand this eternal law. The one who speaks in panic interrupts the process, but the one who stays silent accelerates the victory. Your words are powerful, but there are moments when your silence is mightier still, for silence is agreement with God's vengeance. Silence is partnership with divine justice. Silence is the signal to heaven that you trust the higher hand. Do not lower yourself to the level of those who oppose you. Do not waste holy breath explaining yourself to those who will not hear. Do not argue with those who seek your downfall, for their downfall is already decreed. Be silent and let the eternal judge speak in your defense. Declare this now, I step back and let spirit step in. I withdraw my tongue so that heaven may thunder. I am silent, and in my silence, God wins my battle. Many battles are lost, not because the enemy was strong, but because the righteous spoke too soon. They defended what God already secured. They argued what heaven already settled. They tried to prove what eternity had already decreed. But the wise remain silent, and in their silence, God's voice shakes the earth. In silence, the accuser is silenced. In silence, the liar is exposed. In silence, the trapper falls into his own net. For silence is faith clothed in dignity. Silence is courage wrapped in surrender. Silence is the throne room posture of kings and queens who know the Almighty fights in their stead. Say aloud, I do not fight in my flesh. I do not strive with my tongue. I do not waste my breath in defense. I remain silent, and my silence is the stage for God's glory. Children of divine law, hear the decree. When God is fighting for you, no weapon prospers, no curse endures, no slander stands. When God is fighting for you, time bends, doors open, enemies fall, and every crooked path is made straight. Do not waste your voice on the noise of opposition. Let your silence be your decree. Let your silence prove that you trust the process. Let your silence be your covenant with victory, for the one who is silent when God fights has already won. Say aloud once more, I will be silent when God is fighting for me. My silence is trust. My silence is power. My silence is faith in action. My victory is assured, and no word spoken against me shall prosper. And now the word is sealed. You have been instructed in the law of silence, the shield of the righteous, the fortress of the wise. Silence in gossip, silence in fear, silence before mockers, silence in instruction, silence in anger, silence when God fights. This is not weakness, it is dominion. For silence is the pause where heaven speaks, the stillness where the divine rearranges matter, the proof that you trust the invisible more than the noise of the visible. Hold your tongue as you would hold a sword, for your words create worlds and your silence summons victory. You need not argue, you need not defend, you need not explain. You need only align, decree, and obey. Speak when spirit fills your mouth with power, and be silent when silence itself is prophecy. For your silence is thunder in the unseen, your silence is your crown, your silence is your agreement with eternal law. Therefore rise now in authority, walk in discipline, guard your mouth, guard your destiny, and let silence itself be the language of your power. And so it is.